You don't have a reservation. And this is not the right place for you. Leave this place now before I call the security.
Please, just listen to me.
I won't tell you again. Get out!
Fine, I'm leaving.
It's harder. This is ridiculous. Out, now.
They threw him out of his own hotel. He didn't fight back. He didn't say a word. He just looked at the woman who did it and said, "Tomorrow, I'll show you who I really am." She laughed. She shouldn't have. The Hargrove Grand stood at the corner of 5th and Monroe in downtown Chicago. 42 floors of steel and glass. A building that didn't just cost money, it announced money. The kind of place where the revolving door alone cost more than most people's cars. Black SUVs lined the front entrance that morning. Valets moved fast. Doormen stood straight. Inside, the chandeliers threw gold light across marble floors, and the whole lobby smelled like fresh flowers and expensive cologne. People moved through it like they belonged there. Designer bags, custom suits, shoes that had never touched a sidewalk. And then there was Caden. He walked up to the entrance alone. No car, no bag, just a plain white t-shirt, dark jeans, and clean sneakers that weren't any recognizable brand. His hair was neat. His face was calm. But in this crowd, in front of this building, he looked like a wrong note in a perfect song. People noticed immediately. A woman near the door leaned toward her husband and whispered something. Two guys in blazers looked at him and smirked. A man in a gray suit paused, looked Caden up and down, then kept walking like he hadn't seen anything worth remembering. Caden heard all of it. His face didn't change. He walked through the revolving door like he'd done it 1,000 times. Inside, the morning rush was in full motion. Guests checking in. Staff moving with precision. The restaurant section off the main lobby was already half full. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, a piano playing low in the corner. Caden moved toward it. He found an empty table near the window. The city was visible through the glass, gray sky, wet streets, Chicago in November. He pulled out a chair and sat down. Nobody came to seat him. Nobody brought a menu. 2 minutes passed. Then 3. At the tables nearby, servers moved quickly, refilling water, delivering food, smiling at guests. But not at Caden's table. He waited. Then heels clicked across the marble floor. Fast, deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. Her name was Noelle. Restaurant floor manager. Mid-30s. Sharp blazer, hair pulled back, clipboard in hand. She stopped at the edge of Caden's table and looked at him the way a person looks at something that isn't supposed to be there. "Excuse me." Caden looked up. "Can I help you with something?" Her tone wasn't a question. It was a signal. "Just here to eat," he said. Noelle's eyes moved across him slowly. The t-shirt, the jeans, the sneakers, then back up to his face. "Are you a registered guest?" "No." "Do you have a reservation?" "No." She tilted her head. "Sir, this is a private restaurant. Walk-ins are accommodated based on availability and—" She paused just long enough for it to mean something. "Suitability." Caden didn't blink. "I'm suitable." A short silence. Then Noelle smiled, the kind of smile that wasn't warm at all. "I think you might be more comfortable somewhere else. You think I can't afford the menu." She didn't deny it. "I think there are other options in the area better suited to." "To what?" His voice was still quiet. Not aggressive. Just clear. "To people who look like me?" The table next to them had gone silent. A man in a navy blazer was watching. A woman 2 tables down had stopped mid-sip. Noelle straightened. "That's not what I said." "It's what you meant." The smile dropped. She turned and gestured to 2 security guards stationed near the entrance. They came over without hesitation. "Please escort this gentleman out." Caden stood slowly. He looked at Noelle. Not with anger. Not with embarrassment. Just a long, steady look that she would remember later and wish she hadn't seen. "You're doing this because of what I'm wearing," he said. "I'm doing this because you don't have a reservation." A beat. "And because this is not the right place for you." Something moved through his eyes. Fast. Like a door opening and closing in the same second. "Okay," he said quietly. The guards walked him out. The lobby watched. Some people looked away. Some didn't. The man in the navy blazer shook his head slowly. The woman mid-sip set her glass down and said nothing. At the front desk, a young woman named Piper had seen everything. She was 24, 6 months into the job, still learning how the hotel worked. She watched Caden get walked to the door and felt something tighten in her chest. She almost said something. She didn't. Outside, Caden stood on the sidewalk for a moment. Cold air. Traffic noise. He looked up at the building, at the glass, at the lights, at his own faint reflection staring back at him. He said it quietly, almost to himself. Tomorrow. He turned to leave. Hey, wait. He stopped. Piper was standing just outside the door. She'd followed him. Her lanyard was still around her neck, her ID badge bouncing against her chest. She looked nervous, like she'd just done something she couldn't undo. I'm sorry, she said. What happened in there? That was wrong. Caden looked at her. You work here? Yeah. She didn't look away. Doesn't mean I agreed with it. A pause. It wasn't your fault, he said. Still felt like it was. He studied her for a second. There was something in her face. Not pity. Not performance. Just genuine discomfort at having witnessed something unjust. What's your name? He asked. Piper. Caden. He nodded once, then walked away. She watched him until he disappeared around the corner. That night, Noelle sat in her office going over the evening numbers. A glass of wine, the spreadsheet, the hum of the HVAC system. She was smiling slightly, replaying the morning in her head. She'd handled it right, kept the environment clean. That was her job, maintaining the standard. The standard. She said it again to herself, quieter. Like a word she'd said so many times it had lost its shape. She closed her laptop. She wasn't thinking about him anymore. She should have been. The next morning arrived cold and fast. The hotel woke up early. Floors polished. Stations prepped. Coffee brewing. At 7 a.m., the senior operations director, a man named Garrett, called an all-staff meeting in the main conference room. We have an ownership visit today. The room shifted. The owner of Hargrove Holdings is coming in for an unannounced walkthrough. Everything needs to be. Who is it? Someone asked. Garrett looked at his notes. Caden Hargrove. The name landed like a drop tray. 3 seconds of complete silence. Then the room exploded into controlled panic. Stations were double-checked. Uniforms straightened. Staff moved through the lobby with purpose. Noelle stood in the center of it all, her clipboard gripped tight, her face doing something complicated. Hargrove. She knew the name. Everyone knew the name. The hotel was named after the family. She'd known that. She just hadn't. The thought didn't finish. At 8:47 a.m., a black car pulled up to the front entrance. The driver stepped out and opened the rear door. Caden Hargrove stepped onto the sidewalk. Black coat, fitted slacks, watch on his wrist that the head doorman immediately recognized. Same face, same calm eyes, completely different context. The front doors opened. Garrett was already there. Mr. Hargrove. Welcome back, sir. Caden nodded. He walked through the lobby slowly, taking everything in. At the restaurant entrance, he stopped. Noelle was standing 20 feet away. She saw him. Her clipboard slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. Nobody moved to pick it up. She didn't move at all. She just stood there, and her face went through 5 different expressions in about 2 seconds. Recognition, confusion, understanding, dread, and finally something that looked like the floor opening beneath her. Piper, standing at the front desk, watched Noelle's face fall and felt the air change in the room. Caden walked toward Noelle. He stopped in front of her. The lobby was quiet now. Not the normal quiet of a functioning hotel, the held breath quiet of people who know something is about to happen. Good morning, Caden said. Noelle's mouth opened. Nothing came out. He tilted his head slightly. I believe you said I wasn't suited for this place. Her eyes dropped to the floor. Look at me, he said. Not loud, not cruel, just direct. She looked up. Do you want to explain to the staff what happened yesterday? Or should I? The silence stretched. Noelle's throat worked. I made a mistake, she said. Her voice was barely there. You made a judgment, Caden said, based on what I was wearing. And when I told you that directly, you had me removed. Noelle's hands were shaking. Sir, did you do that to me specifically? Or is that how you treat anyone who walks in here who doesn't look wealthy enough? No answer. He waited. I don't know, she finally said. And somehow that was worse than a lie. Caden turned to the staff who had gathered in a loose semicircle around them. Garrett, 3 servers, 2 front desk agents, a kitchen manager, all watching. Whoever you are, whoever walks through that door, he said it to all of them. They get treated the same. I don't care what they're wearing. I don't care what car they came in. I don't care if they came in on foot. He paused. That's not just policy. That's the reason this place exists. No one spoke. He looked back at Noelle. You've been managing this floor for 3 years. Yes, sir. And in 3 years, you turned what should be the best part of someone's morning into the worst part of mine. Noelle closed her eyes. One tear moved down her cheek. She didn't wipe it. I'm removing you from floor management, Caden said. Effective today. You'll be reassigned to back-of-house operations. Mr. Hargrove, I'm not firing you, he said. I'm giving you the chance I didn't have yesterday. Use it better than I did. Noelle nodded slowly. Her mouth pressed into a line. She picked up her clipboard from the floor, turned, and walked away without looking at anyone. The room let out a long, collective exhale. Then Caden turned toward the front desk. Piper. She straightened instantly. Sir, you came outside yesterday. Yes, sir. Why? She hesitated. Then, because what happened was wrong. And I didn't want the last thing you experienced here to be that. Caden looked at her for a long moment. How long have you been here? 6 months. In 6 months, you understood something that a 3-year manager didn't. He glanced at Garrett, then back at Piper. I want you shadowing Garrett for the next 30 days. Full floor operations. Every department. Piper blinked. Sir, if what I saw yesterday is accurate, you'll be ready for more after that. She opened her mouth, closed it. Thank you. He nodded once and walked toward the elevator. 3 weeks passed. The hotel changed, not in the way a place changes when new furniture arrives or a menu gets updated. It changed the way a room changes when the light in it finally gets fixed. Subtle. Real. You only noticed it if you'd seen it before. The staff smiled differently now. Not the forced, trained smile of people performing hospitality, the actual kind. Guests noticed. Reviews changed. A woman from Milwaukee wrote online that she'd stayed at 40 hotels in the last 2 years and the Hargrove Grand was the only one where she'd felt like a person and not a transaction. Noelle worked quietly in the back. She didn't complain. She didn't make excuses. Some mornings Piper would see her through the kitchen window, head down, focused, doing the work without the audience she used to need. Something was shifting in her. Or maybe it had always been there, buried under years of needing to prove she belonged in rooms she thought required performance. Piper didn't know yet. Neither did Noelle. But something else was shifting too. For days after the lobby confrontation, Noelle started talking to a man named Bryce. He'd been with the hotel for 6 years, maintenance and logistics. He knew every system in the building. He also knew how to stay off people's radar. Noelle found him in the break room at 11 p.m. I need your help, she said. Bryce looked at her over his coffee. I need something to go wrong, she said quietly. Not dangerous, not illegal, just wrong. And I need it to look like it happened because someone didn't do their job. Bryce set his cup down slowly. Someone like who? Noelle said the name. He was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. The problem started on a Tuesday. Hargrove Grand was hosting a private corporate dinner. 60 guests. A tech company out of Seattle closing a multi-million-dollar partnership. The reservation had been confirmed 3 times. The menu had been customized. The table arrangements had been signed off. Piper had overseen everything personally. She'd checked the kitchen twice that morning, confirmed the dietary requests, walked the dining room floor at 4 p.m. and again at 6. At 7:30, the first course went out wrong. Not slightly wrong. Completely wrong. The lead guest, the CEO of the Seattle company, had a severe shellfish allergy documented in the reservation. The dish placed in front of her contained shrimp. She caught it before she ate it. But the damage was done. Her expression when she looked up at Piper said everything. Piper went cold. "I'm so sorry. I'll fix this immediately. Please don't." "I confirmed this reservation 3 times," the woman said. Her voice was controlled, but her hands weren't. 3 times. The table had gone silent. Piper went to the kitchen. She checked the order ticket. It showed the correct dish, no shellfish. She checked the prep sheet. Correct. She asked the line cook who'd plated it. He looked at the ticket in his hand and then at the one she was holding. 2 different tickets. Same table number. Different meals. Someone had printed a second ticket. Piper didn't have time to figure out how. She went back, fixed the order, personally carried the replacement dish, apologized with every word she knew, and somehow, barely, kept the evening together. The CEO left without commenting on the incident publicly. But she also left without signing the partnership agreement. Caden called Piper to his office that night. The room was quiet, minimal. A desk, 2 chairs, a view of the city through floor-to-ceiling glass. He didn't sit down. He stood at the window with his back to her. "Tell me what happened." She told him everything. The timeline, the tickets, the discrepancy she couldn't explain. He turned around. "Did you check the reservation system yourself this morning?" "Yes." "And everything was correct." "Everything was correct." He looked at her for a long moment. Not angry, not accusing, thinking. "Okay," he said. She waited for more. He just said, "Go home. Come back tomorrow." She left. In the elevator, her hands were shaking. In the lobby, she passed Noelle, who was finishing a late shift, head down, walking toward the service exit. They made eye contact for half a second. Noelle looked away first. The second incident happened 5 days later. A guest on the 14th floor reported jewelry missing from her room. A bracelet worth close to $8,000. The guest was connected. Her husband was a city council member. Within an hour, the story had moved from a room complaint to a potential police report. Piper was on floor management that week. The room fell under her oversight. Caden brought in a security consultant to pull CCTV. The footage showed a woman entering the room during the turn-down window. Face angled down, away from the camera. The angle was bad. The resolution was worse. But the security consultant zoomed in anyway. There, on the woman's left wrist, a bracelet. Thin chain. Small silver charm shaped like a star. Piper watched the screen and felt her stomach drop. She'd seen that bracelet before. She turned and looked at the doorway. Noelle was standing just outside it. Her left hand was behind her back. The meeting happened in the same conference room where Garrett had announced Caden's visit 3 weeks earlier. Full staff wasn't present this time. Just the core group. Garrett, the head of security, Piper, and Noelle. Caden sat at the head of the table. He placed a printed still from the CCTV footage in the center. The zoomed image, the wrist, the bracelet. "This was taken at 8:14 p.m. on Thursday," he said. "During the turn-down window on floor 14. Silence. He looked at Noelle. She was looking at the photograph. Her jaw was set. Her hands were flat on the table. "The bracelet in the image," Caden said, "has a specific charm. Star-shaped. Sterling silver. I've seen it on one person in this building." Nobody breathed. "Noelle," he said. She looked up. "Do you want to tell me what's on your wrist right now?" She didn't move for 3 full seconds. Then she placed her left hand on the table. The bracelet was there. Thin chain. Small silver star. Piper closed her eyes. The head of security exhaled through his nose. Noelle looked at Caden and her face was the face of someone who has been running and just ran out of road. "I didn't steal it," she said. Her voice was steady but thin. "I took it. I was going to put it back. She stopped. Started again. "I wanted something to go wrong for her. I wanted you to question whether she was actually ready for this. The dinner tickets, Caden said. That was you too. She nodded once. Garrett leaned back in his chair and pressed his hand over his mouth. Why? Piper said. She hadn't planned to speak. The word just came out. Noelle looked at her. Something moved across her face. Because that was supposed to be my job. Her voice broke on the last word. I built that floor. I trained half the staff in this room. And in one day, I went from floor manager to invisible. She looked at her hands. I couldn't accept that someone else was standing where I was supposed to be standing. The room stayed quiet. Caden stood. You sabotaged a dinner that could have cost this hotel a major partnership. You stole from a guest. And you did both of it to destroy someone who did nothing to you except show up and do the job well. Noelle said nothing. The night I was walked out of this lobby, Caden said, I had a choice. I could have come back the next day and dismantled everything you'd built here. I didn't. I gave you a path forward. He paused. You chose a different one. She looked up. Caden. Mr. Hargrove, Garrett said quietly. She flinched. Your employment here is terminated, Caden said. Effective immediately. I'll be contacting the guest about the bracelet personally. We won't be involving the police, but that's the only courtesy this situation gets. Noelle stood slowly. She picked up nothing from the table. She looked at Piper once, and for just a second, something in her expression wasn't anger or bitterness. It looked almost like relief. Then she walked out. The door closed behind her. Nobody spoke for a long time. 2 weeks later, Chicago got its first snow of the season. It came in the evening, quiet and fast, covering the streets outside the Hargrove Grand in a flat white silence. Piper was on the roof deck. The hotel had one enclosed, used for private events. She'd come up to check the setup for the next morning. She stood at the glass wall and looked out at the city disappearing into white. She heard the door behind her open. Caden walked in. He didn't look surprised to see her. He came to stand a few feet away and looked out at the same view. You okay? He asked. Getting there, she said. A pause. You never asked me if I thought you made the right call, she said. With Noelle. Both times. Did you think I did? She considered it. The first time, yes. The second time, she stopped. The second time I had no choice, he said. I know. She watched a taxi move slowly through the snow below. I just keep thinking about who she was before any of this happened. She must have been good at her job once. She was, Caden said. That's what made it worse. Silence. Then he said, You know what I keep thinking about? What? The fact that you came outside. He turned to look at her. You didn't have to do that. I was already gone. You had nothing to gain. Piper shrugged slightly. It felt wrong not to. Most people feel that and do nothing anyway. She looked at him. There was something in the way he said it, not a compliment exactly. More like an observation he'd been turning over for a while. I grew up watching my mom get treated like she was less than, Piper said. Grocery stores, doctors' offices, restaurants. She looked back out the window. She never made a scene. She just absorbed it. Every single time. A pause. I told myself a long time ago I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to be the person who watches and says nothing. Caden was quiet for a moment. I'm glad you weren't, he said. The snow kept falling. After a while he said, I want to talk to you about what comes next. For your role here. Okay. Not tonight. He almost smiled. Tonight I just needed somewhere quiet. Piper nodded. She understood that. They stood there in the snowlight for another few minutes. Not talking. Just two people watching a city go quiet. That was the beginning of something neither of them had a name for yet. But the hotel felt it. The staff felt it. The way a room feels different when the right people are in it, doing the right things, for the right reasons. The Hargrove Grand was 42 floors of steel and glass. But what made it worth something had nothing to do with the building. Don't ever judge a person by what they're wearing. What's underneath doesn't change, and someday what's underneath is exactly what you'll have to answer to.